This is another content of an Electronics Goldmine Jumbo Surprise Box video review thing. I don't know. Overall looks to be another pretty good one. Haven't sorted through all these yet, but there's Mylar caps. I think some of these are Mylar, some of these are just some kind of plastic film. There's a 1.8432 megacycle ceramic oscillator, or crystal oscillator, but there are a whole bunch of those. Those will prove useful. Also, if you don't already know why, that oddball frequency is it's an integer multiple of a number of standard serial baud rates, and it helps if your clock is an integer multiple of a serial comms frequency. That's why. Also a whole bunch of these bridge rectifiers. Don't know the specifications offhand. Have to look that up, but those are really useful, especially since one of the things that I ordered and something canceled was a factory tray of 50 rectifiers, so those will come in useful. There's a 10 volt, 680 microfarad Nietzsche Lytic. Looks to be at least a number of those. More film caps, whole bunch of 1N5400 diodes. Those are 3 ampere 50 volt diodes, useful. 53 nanofarad 630 volt capacitor, looks to be a whole bunch of those. Some 1% tolerance resistors, a knob. About 50,000 ohm resistors, also useful. That's 1/8 inch TS jack, I'm guessing. I don't know if there's only 3 pins. 5 watt 22 ohm resistor. There'll be a couple of those in here. Also a number of these, what are they? Oh, I think these are TRS 1/4 inch jacks, also pretty useful. A number of these, which are triple RCA connectors, basically composite video and left and right audio. A whole bunch of them. And there's this switch, and a couple of, or 4 of these disposable camera flash modules, one of which is missing the photo flash capacitor, and so far I don't see it in the pile of stuff. And the problem is that's something that's kind of hard to get on your own nowadays, or on its own nowadays. And there was one of these retractable telephone handset cords, domestically made too, and I guess probably 1980s, early 1990s manufacture. And one of these push button timers, which is basically a 1-minute timer that beeps and the lights blink. And given that I'm 2 for 2 getting one of these in the electronic surprise box, and given that they want $2 a piece individually, you're probably better off getting a surprise box, although who knows. And there's a thing of 10 ampere fuses, although it only has 1 fuse in it. 32 volts, that's automotive, typical stuff. And bag of these telephone splitters, which are designed to split a dual line telephone service out to 1 line per jack. That splits a 2-line telephone receptacle out to 1 that's just line A and 1 that's just line B. That could be useful for stuff, given that, although POTS lines aren't extremely common anymore, but yeah, could be useful, because telephone jacks are useful for other stuff. with a 11540 diode. I think I also saw a couple other precision resistors. I think I might have already covered those. And a whole bunch of these little tiny capacitors which are stuck to everything. What are you? 724. Okay, here, printing on the other side. 332, okay, these are 3.3 nanofarad capacitors. That's useful. There's a little cheapo crystal judging by the printing on it, but that's, I guess maybe, 2 megacycles or something like that. I have to test it. V 1000 volt ceramic. That's 4.7 nanofarad. That was useful. Bunch of little push button switches, whole bunch more lytics. Overall, another recommended box. Don't see that much else interesting in here. There's one of these LED phototransistor pairs and another one which looks to be the same assembly, but it's only got either a phototransistor or an LED in it, probably an LED because I can see a resistor potted in there. What else? Other capacitor, 470 nanofarad, 200 volt. What else? And that's pretty much it. Did not include the wire nuts. That was from my low pressure sodium lamp test last night. Another jack. That looks to be about it as far as the stuff in here. And of course, this was not something included in the grab bag. This is something I ordered separately as an experiment. It's basically a 12 volt fluorescent lamp driver that's momentarily operated by pushing on this button, and there's an LED under there which lights up the button. Obviously not going to be a super bright thing because this is from let's see, April 12th, 1992 or December 4th, 1992. And then there's another board thing on the bottom. Interesting, looks like it was handwritten. Yeah, December 4th, 1992, or oh, that might be a 1. Or that could just be an alignment mark or something. Never actually seen that before. Something, a handwritten component of a PCB silkscreen. And it looks to be just a simple, looks like there's something other with a CD4538, which is, I think, some kind of timer device. Harris 2, which is interesting. And then there's just a driver transistor and a output transformer, which goes to the 2 white leads. This is probably for some kind of, I don't know, maybe a UV exposure lamp or something, some kind of medical quackery. It's a thing. And as one last other aside, as far as other useful grab bags from Electronic Goldmine, they're 1% resistor assortment, which, when at least with the one that I got last time, it had about a dozen 0.1% tolerance military specification resistors and a whole bunch of other military specification resistors. And this one also looks to, although they're just mil-spec, I can't tell at this point what the tolerances are. So this is another useful thing because a lot of my 1% or 0.1% tolerance mil-spec resistors were at least 17 cents a piece surplus from Surplus Sales, Nebraska, which is still a really good price. Then there's their power resistor assortment. This particular one looks to have a whole bunch of carbon comp resistors in it, so you might want to, if you do get a bunch of those, might be a good idea to bake those out because they can be hygroscopic with time. And generally I don't use them a lot in designs, even though I've got a whole bunch of them from my grandfather's stocks of electrical components. But they can be very reliable, assuming you handle the potential across them properly, such as they can handle power surges as long as you don't exceed their potential rating. And properly implemented, they can be very reliable, but those are generally niche applications. And they're what they call a sandstone resistor assortment. They're basically just ceramic sand-filled boat type power resistors, but also useful because these are hard to find.